CEO's paralyzed daughter sat alone by the tree, until a single dad said, "Merry Christmas." The cold December wind whistled through the park, carrying the faint scent of pine and fresh snow. 8-year-old Emma sat alone on the bench beneath the towering Christmas tree, her wheelchair parked firmly beside her. She hugged her coat tightly around her, though it did little to keep out the chill. Snowflakes dusted her dark hair, and her eyes were fixed on the twinkling lights above. Emma's father, the CEO of one of the largest tech companies in the country, was buried in last-minute meetings. Everyone seemed busy except Emma. She felt invisible. Her world had changed a year ago, when a car accident left her paralyzed from the waist down. Life in a wheelchair was hard enough, but the loneliness cut deeper than the frost biting her cheeks. She didn't notice the man approaching. He was a single dad, carrying a small paper bag of groceries and dragging a little boy, no more than 6, behind him. His face was tired, etched with the kind of weariness that only comes from juggling 2 jobs and a toddler who refused to nap. Yet his eyes were kind. "Merry Christmas," he said suddenly, voice warm and cheerful. Emma flinched. No one had ever greeted her like that in months. "Merry Christmas," she murmured, unsure what to make of him. He crouched slightly to meet her gaze. "I know you're alone today. That's no fun. Want some hot cocoa?" From his bag, he produced a small thermos and handed it to her. Emma stared, her lips trembling. She wasn't used to strangers being nice, especially not in such a simple, human way. The little boy tugged at the man's sleeve. "Can I help her, Dad?" "Of course." The dad smiled, kneeling down so that his son could hand Emma a small gingerbread cookie. It was a simple act. Warmth, kindness, and a little sweetness, but for Emma, it felt like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. She smiled just a little, and for the first time in months she felt seen. "You know," the man said gently, "sometimes the best Christmases aren't about presents or parties. They're about sharing a moment, even with someone you've never met." Emma looked around at the sparkling tree and the drifting snow. In that instant, she realized that happiness wasn't something her father could schedule into her life, nor was it something she had to wait for. It could come in a cup of cocoa, a cookie, and a stranger's smile. Can I sit with you?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Absolutely," he said, pulling up a chair, while his son scooted Emma a little closer. For the next hour, they shared stories, laughter, and little bits of magic that had nothing to do with expensive toys or lavish decorations. Emma told them about her favorite books. The little boy proudly showed her his handmade paper snowflakes. The single dad listened, genuinely interested, reminding her that even in a world that sometimes felt cold, there were people who cared. When it was time to leave, Emma didn't want them to go. But the man knelt once more. "You've got a whole world ahead of you, Emma. And don't forget, a small act of kindness can change everything, just like you changed our day-to-day too." Emma's eyes shimmered. "Thank you. Merry Christmas," he winked. "Merry Christmas, Emma. Don't forget to pass it on." As they walked away, Emma watched them disappear into the snow, but her heart felt full. She had been reminded of a simple truth. Kindness wasn't measured by wealth, fame, or power. It was measured by the warmth we share with one another. And for the first time in a long time, Emma felt hopeful, believing that even in the quietest corners of life, magic could still be found. Key themes: small acts of kindness can make a huge impact. Connection transcends wealth and social status. Hope and human warmth can emerge in unexpected places. The next morning, Emma woke to a soft glow of sunlight spilling across her room. She stared at the little snow-dusted pine branches on her windowsill, still feeling the warmth from yesterday's encounter. Something had shifted inside her. She wasn't just a lonely girl in a wheelchair anymore. There was a spark of hope, a tiny flame that told her the world wasn't as cold as it sometimes seemed. At breakfast, her father was already on a conference call, the sharp lines of stress etched across his face. Emma hesitated, then took a deep breath. "Dad, can I tell you about someone I met yesterday?" He glanced up, momentarily caught off guard by the earnest look in her eyes. "Of course, Pumpkin. Who did you meet?" She told him about the single dad, the little boy, the cocoa, the cookies. and how a simple act of kindness had made her feel seen and cared for. Her father's expression softened, a rare break in his busy, business-driven demeanor. "Emma, I'm glad you met them. Sometimes I get so caught up in work, I forget that these moments matter." Emma smiled, her heart swelling. "It's okay, Dad. Maybe we can visit them? Bring them some cookies?" Her father paused, then nodded. "You're right. Let's do that." By late afternoon, they were at the small apartment where the single dad lived. The little boy squealed in delight when Emma appeared, holding a tin of homemade cookies. The single dad's eyes widened, touched that Emma remembered them. "You didn't have to do this," he said, his voice quiet with emotion. "I wanted to," Emma replied simply. That evening, they sat together in the living room, sharing stories, laughter, and warmth that went far beyond any holiday decoration. Her father watched quietly, learning something that no business meeting or boardroom ever taught. Presence, compassion, and genuine human connection mattered more than anything else. A week later, Emma found herself helping the little boy build a miniature snowman outside, her wheelchair perfectly positioned for him to reach her. She laughed as he crowned the tiny snowman with a carrot nose, and she realized that kindness once received had a way of multiplying. Months passed, and the three families, Emma's, the single dad's, and the little boy's, formed an unlikely but unbreakable bond. Emma's father even started a small foundation, inspired by Emma's story, to support children with disabilities, teaching them that the world was full of opportunities and love. One Christmas, a year after that first snowy encounter, Emma sat beneath the same towering tree in the park. Her wheelchair sparkled with tiny lights her father had strung around it, and beside her sat the little boy, holding her hand. The single dad stood nearby, smiling. "Merry Christmas, Emma," he said softly. "Merry Christmas," she replied, her eyes shining. "And thank you for showing me that even a small act of kindness can change everything." They laughed together, the snow swirling around them like glittering confetti. Emma realized then that life's most beautiful gifts weren't things you could buy. They were moments, connection, and the courage to care. And in that moment, she knew something important. One small gesture of love could echo far beyond a single day, creating ripples of hope, compassion, and joy that could last a lifetime.